get into the Stockholm Syndrome today, which I feel that the majority of us have had this disease. I call it a disease. Not only us, but our forefathers have had it, our grandparents, our parents, our uncles, our aunties, cousins. We've all had the Stockholm Syndrome. And this Stockholm Syndrome is a disease of Satan. This is where it originates from. It comes from Satan. And so how do we overcome this? We're going to go through the scriptures and we're going to show you how to overcome this. Let's go to Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. But it reads, Colossians 3 and 17, and whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all by Hashem, which is the name, HAMASHAYACH, which is Lord or Christ, Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, giving thanks to the Most High Yahawah and the Father by him. His name is Yahawah. The Indians called him Yahawah. The Africans called him Yahawah. His name has always been Yahawah. The name has gotten decrepit through some of the oral translations of handing it down from one generation to the generation. But it goes back to Yahawah. There's no J's in his name. There's no I in his name. It's Yahawah. All right, just so we have the understanding of that. So everything we do in word or deed is through him and through his son, HAMASHAYACH Yahawashi, who he set up on the earth to give and bring remission of sins. Let's go to Romans chapter 15 and 4. Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. And it reads, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. You see that right there? That's what it's all about right there. Reestablishing yourself with the faith of HAMASHAYACH by going through the scriptures to see what he said, see what his father said. So this is what it's all about. This is what builds your faith up. This is what gives you the inspiration, reading over the scriptures. Let's go to Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8. And let's go to verse 37. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. What is this talking about? If we follow Yahawah by Hashem, HAMASHAYACH Yahawashi, we can conquer and overcome anything, 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 all right? He put that in the scriptures for us to see it. There's nothing that can separate us from the love of the Most High. Nothing. Right? So Stockholm Syndrome is not going to work against the saints. Those who find the light, Stockholm Syndrome is not going to work against us. So where do you see Stockholm Syndrome in the Bible? When you look at captivity of all the prophets. We went into captivities how many times? The blessing of us going into those captivities was this. We remembered who we were. We remembered who we were. At least the elect did. The elect remembered. Daniel remembered who he was. And this is why Daniel went through so much affliction, because he remembered who he was. Let's go to Daniel 1:1. A lot of people don't know that Daniel went into captivity. He went into an eastern captivity. Now, whenever our people went into an eastern captivity, the men suffered greatly because most of them became eunuchs. Eunuchs means to be castrated, where the women end up being a part of the harem, of the eastern captivity harems, and they birthed children who became slaves and put into the king's house. But in this particular case, this is the first generation of the captivity dealing with Daniel. Daniel chapter 1, verse 1. It reads, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it. So Jerusalem went into captivity under the Babylonian kingdom. And the Most High gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with part of the vessels of the house of the Most High, which he carried into the land of Shinar, which is in Ethiopia. Just to give you an understanding of what we're dealing with, Ethiopia was what? All black nation. Ethiopia. You had the Ethiopians, you had East Indians dwelling in that land. So don't get confused with this Stockholm Syndrome, because when you read books And when you look at movies, all those images are going to be Edomites, which are Caucasians. So that's a form of Stockholm Syndrome by you not knowing that. But that whole captivity, it was one black nation being put in captivity by another black nation. All right? This is why I read this. It's a form of Stockholm Syndrome, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God. Notice it says God, and it has lowercase, G-O-D, whereas the first one it said God with uppercase. That's Yahawah. But down on the next one it says his God. That's the gods of the other nations. That's why it's lowercase. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. See that? So they stole all our gold, all our silver, and took it into the god of Shinar, the god of Ethiopia, the god of Babylon. See that? Now, Shinar is in the book of Genesis. This is Nimrod built up the city. Let's go to the next, Daniel 1 and 3. And the king spoke unto Ashpenaz, the master of the eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes. So it says master of his eunuchs. So the master of his eunuchs made other eunuchs. And this is bringing in what? The children of Israel, they were considered eunuchs during this time. So what were they doing? They were destroying the images of the Most High. See that? That's the first form of breaking down a man's spirit. That's a form of Stockholm Syndrome right there. The image. Children in whom was no blemish, meaning they were brainwashed, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom and cunning in knowledge and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, in whom they might teach the learning of the tongue of the Chaldeans. So they had to, their language was stripped, so they could learn the language of the Chaldeans. That's not only dealing with form of lexicon, it's also learning mathematics. That's a language, ain't it? The Chaldeans knew mathematics. Remember, Abraham consorted with the Egyptians and taught them arithmetic. He taught them different ways of using mathematics. They didn't even have some of that understanding until Abraham showed up. But where did Abraham's father come from? They came out of the loins or the understanding of the Chaldeans. This is the people they dwelt with. So we was able to operate in this Babylonian captivity, but we still had one thing that they couldn't strip from us, which was the Most High's understanding. Daniel 1 and 5, and the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. They were being brainwashed for 3 years. Then it goes into Daniel, when you read the next 2 verses, right? And his minions of the Israelites. Look at verse 8. We're going to stop at verse 8 on this one. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. So 3 years he is being brainwashed, but Daniel still remembered himself. He still remembered the laws of the Most High. You see that? He wouldn't put nothing in his mouth that defiled him. Meaning what? That's dealing with the tongue. The tongue does what? Taste. That's one of the operations of the Most High, your tongue. Your body is another operation of the Most High. The image, he made us in his image. So Daniel's showing you the image of the Most High by not defiling himself. He's not triggering himself to forget everything. All right? Now, another one who was elect was Joseph. He never forsook the ordinances of the Most High, even while he was in Egypt as a slave. Unlike a lot of us, a lot of our forefathers, a lot of our parents, a lot of our, what we have every year, we have a family reunion. Most of our people at the family reunion never talk about the laws of God when they get together. They talk about family stuff, but they say a prayer, but they never go into the law, statutes, and commandments at family reunions, which normally happens around this time after the harvest is when we all get together, right? Ironic. But let's go to Psalms, the book of Psalms, chapter 81. And let's look at Daniel. Let's see if he forgot anything, because Daniel, just like his forefather, was Abraham. Joseph's forefather was Abraham too. Joseph's great-grandfather was Abraham, so he knew a lot more about Abraham than Daniel did. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 81. Book of Psalms, chapter 81. Let's drop down to verse 3. I want to get to the point. Psalms, chapter 81, verse 3. It reads, "Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast days. For this was a statute for Israel and a law of the Most High of Jacob. This he ordained in Joseph for a testimony." Let's see if he was living freely. It says, "When he went out through the land of Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not." So the Egyptians were speaking a different language from Joseph, but he remembered the ordinances of the Most High in Egypt. You see that? So did he have Stockholm syndrome? No, he remembered the ordinances of his father. They don't teach us that in church, to blow up the shofar in the new moon. They don't teach us not to defile ourselves. They follow the ways of Satan, all of them. In America, we forgot all of this stuff. Let's go to Baruch. And Baruch prophesied that we would have this problem. Baruch chapter 1, verse 18. This is in your Apocrypha. Let's go to Baruch chapter 1, verse 18. And it reads, let's start at 17. "For we have sinned before the Most High." This is our generations. "For we have sinned before the Most High and disobeyed him, and have not hearkened unto the voice of the Most High our power, to walk in the commandments that he gave us openly, since the day that the Most High brought our forefathers out of the land of Egypt unto this present day," right? "We have been disobedient unto the Most High power, and we have been negligent in not hearing his voice." What is his voice? The law, statutes, and commandments is his voice. The law, statutes, and commandments is his image. "Wherefore the evils cleaved unto us, and the curse, because we didn't keep his commandments, which the Most High appointed by Moses his servant at the time that he brought our fathers out of the land of Egypt," Deuteronomy 28, "to give us a land that floweth with milk and honey, like as it is to see this day. Nevertheless, we have not hearkened unto the voice of the Most High power, according to all the words of the prophets, whom he sent unto us." So the prophets never went to another nation to say repent. People think that Jonah went to Nineveh to free all the Gentiles. People don't understand. When you read it in the Apocrypha, Nineveh had the tribe of Naphtali in captivity, which is one of the 12 tribes of Israel. That's the only reason why Jonah went to Nineveh. People miss that whole point. He didn't go to the Gentiles. He went to the Israelites who were in the Gentile state of mind, and he didn't even want to do that. Jonah went to Nineveh to bring judgment. He brought judgment. He didn't come to bring salvation. When he went there, he told them, look, if y'all don't repent, y'all going to die. That's the way he brought it. And they turned that into salvation. The Ninevites, the Israelites that were dwelling in Nineveh. Okay? The book of Tobit talks about most of the people in Nineveh were captives, which were Israelites. So they turned it around. And Jonah was stubborn enough not to go because he thought he was in the will of the Most High by not going. Actually, he didn't even care if he was in the will of the Most High. He refused to go to Nineveh. Bought a ticket to go to Joppa in Spain, right? He bought a ticket. The Most High allowed him to buy a ticket. He gets on the boat. He goes to sleep. He's doing opposite of the will of the Most High. He goes to sleep. There's a storm in the midst of the air. This is a spiritual storm. You know, there's a spiritual storm. There's a regular storm. Most High is moving the ship. Everyone's getting mad, trying to figure out what's going on. What did they do wrong? They find Jonah at the bottom of the ship. How can you sleep in the midst of a storm like that? It's a spiritual storm. It's like Yahawashi was sleeping on the boat and the disciples woke up. That was the spiritual storm for them to believe, for Yahawashi to say, peace, be still. But Jonah was sleeping. He didn't care if he was in the will of the Most High or not. He didn't even care. How can you be like that? All right? Turn your back on your brothers. But nevertheless, a lot of people were in Stockholm syndrome in Nineveh until judgment came in. And a lot of times the Most High would bring something wrathful, like judgment, just to make you change. I think there's a scripture on that. If you go to the book of Psalms, let's go to Psalms real quick. I don't want to deviate too much. Let's go to Psalm 76. Just thinking of a verse. You know, that Stockholm syndrome, sometimes the Most High would use certain individuals to come out of that Stockholm syndrome by their stubbornness. Let's go to Psalm 76 and 10. Psalm 76, yeah, this is what I want right here. It says, surely the wrath of man shall praise thee. The wrath of man shall praise thee. The remainder of wrath shalt thou restrain. See that? So in the midst of wrath, destruction, some people are going to come out of that destruction. That's why I always tell a lot of people, when things happen on the earth, earthquakes, thunderstorms, tornadoes, when stuff like that happen, a lot of Israelites repent. A lot of them wake up and come out of that darkness that they was in because they're fearful. They see people dying around them, right? They see that wrath of the Most High. They see they're losing houses, their life's in shambles. So they come to the Most High out of fear. And that's what the Most High sometimes does. He uses wrath to bring our people into the truth. And we have to understand that wrath. Sometimes it's spiritual, sometimes it's not, right? You just want to be within the will of the Most High. Let's go to Baruch. Go back to Baruch. And let's go to 1 verse 21. Nevertheless, we have not hearkened unto the voice of the Most High our power, according unto all the words of the prophets whom he sent unto us. But every man followed what? The imagination of his own wicked heart. We're going to talk about that heart. To serve strange gods. Notice the gods is in little case, not big case. And to do evil in the sight of the Most High, our power, Yahawah. Notice the capital G-O-D, Yahawah. Just so you can understand how to read the scriptures. Let's jump over to chapter 2 of Baruch, and let's go to verse 22. Baruch chapter 2, verse 22. But if you will not hear the voice of the Most High to serve the king of Babylon, so at this point, we went into Babylon, just like we read in Daniel. They went into Babylon. I will cause to cease out of the cities of Judah and from without Jerusalem the voice of mirth, the voice of joy, the voice of bridegroom, and the voice of the bride, and the whole land shall be desolate of inhabitants. So it was destined for Israel to go into captivity under the Babylonian Empire. If you prophesied against that, you would die. You would be considered a false prophet. Israel was supposed to go into captivity. So he said everything that we had in the land was going to be destroyed if we didn't come out of there. So he was preserving Israel, putting us in captivity, right? Just like he did us. He preserved us, bringing us over to the Americas. And Jerusalem is not completely fulfilled. That's why they're bombing Gaza right now, because they got to encompass the whole land of Israel. They got to bring that wickedness into the whole land, the whole constance of Israel, for this to come to pass, for us to go back. All right, so this is prophetic. Let's go to Baruch chapter 4, and let's go to verse 3, just to substantiate the captivity part. Baruch chapter 4, verse 3. Give not thine honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto thee to a strange nation. What did we give over? We gave our love to another nation, not to the Father. We believe on the other nation. Like in the book of Lamentations, we sought help from a nation that could not save us. That's what we're doing today. We're voting in the society, thinking that by voting that we could save our nation, that we could save our people, that somebody could come help us. It's never worked. It's never worked since we've been here. Never.
So I had some white colleagues asked me what I thought about Trump actually segregating whites and blacks. And I actually told them straight up, like, honestly, I would love that. Now, they looked at me like I was crazy, and they almost spit up their almond milk. And I think they thought that maybe I was saying that out of hatred, but it really isn't about hatred. Here's the thing. I'm not talking about their version of segregation. See, I'm talking about our version of righteous separation, spiritual sovereignty, and black sufficiency. See, the truth of it is that integration was never about freedom. It was finesse. It was a system's way of saying, let's stop them from succeeding independently so we can profit from their brilliance directly. It was about control. And so I want us to be very clear about this. You know, we were never separate but equal. So that's a lie. We were separate and excelling. We had our own schools. We had our own banks. We had our own businesses. And baby, we were thriving. Black Wall Street, they burned it. Rosewood, they bombed it. Wilmington, they overthrew it. Why? Because we were doing too well without them, and they couldn't handle that. And so that's the truth. They didn't really want segregation gone. They wanted control. This is why we know that integration was just repackage of chains. When we were separate, we actually were building and excelling. And when they saw that we could excel without them, then it was like, oh no, we got to take control and make sure that their labor is profiting us. So right around that time, they rolled out this whole standardized testing, ACT and SAT. Y'all remember that? They created this IQ ranking to measure their norms, not our brilliance. And then we were said we were behind when we really weren't. We were just building our own lane, not asking for theirs. See, I don't know about you all, but I'm kind of tired of the lies. It's very exhausting, you know, just the lies that continue to be promoted.
Right? This is a strange nation. Verse 4, O Israel, happy are we, for things that are pleasing to the Most High are made known unto us. Be of good cheer, my people. The memorial of Israel, you were sold to the nations. Listen to what the Most High says. You were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved the Most High to wrath, like we talked about wrath. You were delivered unto the enemies, for you provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to the Most High. You have forgotten the everlasting power that brought you up, and you have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. See, it's all the same thing. If you can't see it, that means that you're striving in darkness and not in light. So this is something that we're working on today, trying to be like the Most High, right? Stockholm Syndrome definition is this. Before we go any further, this way you can get it. Stockholm Syndrome is this. It's a psychological response where hostages or abuse victims develop positive feelings toward their captors or abusers. It occurs in situations of captivity, kidnapping, or abusive relationships. And it is a coping mechanism to deal with the power imbalances and trauma involved. You see this with a lot of rape victims. They feel sorry for the predator. They feel sorry for the ones who raped them. And they cover for them. It's abuse. And this happened in captivity with us. And this is why we're always trying to save the other nations. We're always trying to save them. They ain't did nothing for us, but we're trying to save them. We're trying to help them all the time. This is a form of Stockholm Syndrome. It's about us, the sons of the power. We have to understand what the Most High is asking us. So where again did the Stockholm Syndrome happen in the Bible first? Where did it start? Did it start with Esau? Did it start with Babylon? You know, where did it start? I'm going to tell you where it started. It started right in the Garden of Eden. That's where Stockholm Syndrome first started. Okay? Satan wanted man to live independently without the Most High. We see that in the book of Matthew, chapter 4, verse 8. Let's go there real quick. Matthew chapter 4, verse 8. Remember, he challenged Yahawashi because he wanted Yahawashi to live independently without the Most High. Matthew chapter 4, verse 8. Matthew chapter 4, verse 8. It says, again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and saith unto him, all these things will I give you if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then Yahawashi saith unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Most High thy power, and him only shalt thou serve. So Satan was trying to get Yahawashi to live independently without the Most High. Isn't that something? So if he is trying to get him to live without the Most High, what do you think he's trying to do for his children? Okay? He wanted to establish his control on the earth through us, through the man. That's what he wanted, and that's what's going down. We think that it's happening now, but it's really not, because the elect are waking up. He wanted man to be self-made. This is what Satan wanted. He wanted to self-make a man. He wanted to make a man self-empowering, self-motivating. He wanted the man to be self-conquering. And that list goes on and on and on. That's what Satan wanted. He figured if we can grow with a sinful nature, then we can be blinded to the truth. That's his whole nucleus, so that all mankind grows up in darkness. Now the world is like spiritually blinded. I think there was a movie I saw on Netflix. It's called Blinded. It's about a kingdom that's blinded. Everyone's blind except for a few, and they call the few wicked that can see. But that's how Satan is. He wants the whole world to be spiritually blinded, not physically blind, but spiritually blinded. Now we have, when you look at us now, we've all kind of adjusted to this physical blindness. Darkness is in the earth, and we've adjusted to our environment. We're used to this, but in reality, we're all crippled to the understanding of spiritualness. And this is what Satan wants us. He wants us to be handicapped where we have to depend on him and the things that we see physically. It's not about spiritual things here. You see that in the hospitals. The doctors say, well, you only have this many days to live. There's nothing spiritual about that. He's not the Most High. He don't give you no other alternatives. This medicine is what's going to do it. But there's alternatives to the medicine, right? Physical things he's looking at. He's not looking at spiritual things, what you really need. What you really need is the Most High. What you really need is prayer. What you really need is the understanding of a physician who understands the Most High so he can help you. That's what the scriptures say. Let's go to Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3. And let's go to verse 4. This is where it started. And it reads, and the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. There it is right there. Ye shall not surely die. She believed on him. For the Most High doth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. There's the lie. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her. And he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. See that? So she lost her spiritual eyes right there, her and Adam. Let's drop down to verse 10. Genesis 3 and 10. This is when the Most High went to the garden. And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told thee that thou was naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to me with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And the Most High Yahawah said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. So look at this. Was Eve really aware of what was on the other side? She wasn't really aware. She didn't read the ingredients. She didn't do anything. She didn't do her homework. She didn't seek counsel. She should have went and sought counsel from who? From Adam. There was someone else in the garden besides her that she trusted. She should have sought counsel. That was the first wrong problem. Counsel. I'm going to touch on that. So remember, the Most High gave Adam one instruction. Only one. He failed the assignment. That one instruction to not eat of the tree of good and evil that was found in the midst of the garden. All Adam had to do is follow those commandments. And just like Adam fell, we fall. And so this is why we got to repent, because Adam didn't have that opportunity to repent and stay within the garden. But he had access still to the Father, but just not the way that he had it in the garden. So now you have to seek him 10 times more. We have HAMASHAYACH. We have something special during this day and age. So we can repent, but we still have to follow the commandments of the Most High. Right? These are the sanctities of the laws of life. We have to do that. This is what he spoke into us. That will save us from the trauma that we're dealing with today, from the trials. The Most High wanted Adam to have like a willful obedience. He just wanted somebody that he could trust in the garden. He said, let me set this up. Let me see if I can really trust this guy that I created. Let me just see. He put one tree in the garden and told him to stay away from that one tree out of thousands. And he couldn't trust him. So how were Adam and Eve overcome by Satan? How did that happen? How did they fall to filthy communication, which is Stockholm syndrome? We all fell to filthy communication. Look at us now. Most of us, you could go out on the street, talk to anybody, none of them know the truth. They all got filthy communication. Remember, the Most High made us in his image. So we were blessed with certain operations to assist us to be just like him. Satan wants to destroy each operation of that image that the Most High gave us. He wants to replace it with tools that favor him and not the Most High. Let's go to Sirach. Sirach chapter 17 and verse 1. And this goes in the Stockholm syndrome. Everything that we talk about or that we use to define Stockholm syndrome, it's all in this chapter right here. Let's start at verse 1. The Most High created man of the earth and turned him into it again, meaning we live and then we die and we go back to dust. Verse 2. He gave them few days and a short time, and power also over the things therein. We have a small test down here while we live. He endued them with strength by themselves and made them according to his image. That's the first thing Satan wants to destroy, is the image of the Most High. That's why you look at all the artificial things that he's producing, skin fillers, bleaching of the hair, all these different things that make yourself beautify yourself. That's not really needed. Verse 4, and put the fear of man upon all flesh and gave him dominion over beasts and fowls. They received the use of 5 operations of the Most High. And in the 6th place, he imparted them understanding. That's 6. And in the 7th, speech, an interpreter of the cogitations thereof. So you can understand all the wheels within the earth. Verse 6, this is the first one. He gave us counsel. Just like we talked about, Eve should have consorted with Adam and had counsel before taking the advice of Satan. So this is the first thing the Most High gave us, was counsel. We don't see animals counseling each other. Sometimes, but for the most part, it deals with us. Counsel. Let's go to Matthew chapter 18. Matthew chapter 18. Stockholm syndrome. So someone of the Edomites sat down and put together this meticulous chart on breaking us down, and he started a chart just like this to break us down. Let's go to Matthew chapter 18, verse 1. Because if you look at the laws of this man, he put laws in place to keep us apart from each other. We can't get together. You know, there used to be a law where you couldn't gather on the street corners together. You know, he breaks that counsel down. So you can't do things that you want. You can't gather in houses. There's an ordinance for that. You know, all these different little rules that he put out. Matthew chapter 18, verse 20. Matthew chapter 18, verse 20. It reads here, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them." See that? So this is Yahawashi saying, when there's 2 or 3 of you, your counsel basically is better, because now you have understanding of the scriptures, you understand the commandments, and when you consort with one another or counsel with one another, you're going to give good counsel according to the Bible. So you can keep the Most High's image. That's what it's all about. So counsel is the first one in verse 6. The next one, it says the tongue. Remember, Daniel refused to defile himself, right? That's a usage of the tongue. But the tongue could do much, much more damage than just taste. Those are the operations of the physical. Esau came out with a physical chart, unlike the Most High's chart. Most High's chart starts out with counsel, but Esau's, the worldly chart, is smell, touch, taste, hear, and see. We all know that. But the Most High has his operations. This is what we want, the operations of the Most High. So let's go to Proverbs chapter 18. Proverbs chapter 18. And let's go to verse 21. Proverbs 18 and 21. Notice what it says in Proverbs 18 to 21. This is dealing with the tongue. It says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. See that? Death and life are in the power of the tongue. What you say, what you do, could bring death on you or it could bring life on you. And they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. See that? So we have to understand that through the tongue, you have the power of death and life. You look at people that we once had on the earth. You can look over the earth, those who were in the public eye, celebrities, so forth. The ones who spoke death, most of them met death quickly. Those who spoke life, most of those lived a long life, right? What is life according to the Most High? It's keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. In Deuteronomy chapter 4, he says, keep these commandments and live. And keep it as an apple of your eye. That's what it's about. So let's look at the next operation. So we spoke on counsel and the tongue. The next one, he says eyes. All right, so your eyes are the light to the soul. Let's go to Matthew chapter 6. The eyes are just as important as counsel. So you can see wickedness and you can see righteousness. You can see what you're walking into. Matthew chapter 6, verse 22. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. So doctrine has a lot to do with this, because if you look at the doctrine of the world, when we see a white Jesus, what do we think? Our Savior, our Lord, our Master, most of our people. That's dealing with the eye. But those who are physically blind can't see that unless they were able to see at one time. So the eye can lead you into destruction too. But the Most High said the eye is the light of the body. So if you understand the truth, which is the light, right, then you will be well in this world, following the Most High. Let's look at verse 23. Matthew 6 and 23. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? How great is it? How much have you seen? How much have you done? How much have you witnessed that changed your thinking? That's why men who go to war and they see death, a lot of them don't make it unless they have the light of the Most High, unless they have some understanding on what life is all about. Most of them had families back at home they were trying to get to. Most of their grandmothers spoke of the scriptures, and they remembered what their grandmothers taught them in the war, in Vietnam and the Gulf War and so forth. So the eyes have a lot to do with the truth. So he said counsel, tongue, and the eyes and ears. Are the ears important? Yeah, this is how you're going to hear the truth. Blessed is those whose feet run to teach the Gospels. Job chapter 34, verse 3. Job 34 and 3. It reads, for the ear trieth words, as the mouth tasteth meat. Let us choose to us judgment. Let us know among ourselves what is good. See that? For Job hath said, I am righteous, and the Most High hath taken away my judgment. But as we read in verse 3, the ear trieth words. Let's go to Romans. I think, what is that? Romans chapter 10? Yeah, let's go to Romans 10 and 15. Let's start at 14. Romans chapter 10 and 14. It reads, how then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? So by the ears, you can hear the words of the Most High. And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of what? Of peace. And bring glad tidings of good things. So you can hear the word when it's preached. And this gives you inspiration. This gives you a need to learn more scriptures. This is a joy to hear the word of the Most High. This is a form also of counsel. So let's go back to the scriptures, Sirach chapter 17 and verse 6. Counsel and a tongue and eyes and ears and a heart gave he them to understand. So a heart, when you look at the brain is what the heart is. A lot of people look at the heart in the chest and think that's the heart he's speaking about, but he's speaking about the brain. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 17. Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 9. Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 9. It reads, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? So if you're hearing the wrong words, like we've been hearing most of our lives in the churches, we thought we knew the Gospels. We thought we knew the Most High's words. But we were hearing the wrong things, and it made us very deceitful. We heard Satan's words all these years. All these years. It was very deceitful. Verse 10, the Most High searcheth the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his doing. So by hearing the word, by seeing, by counsel, by tasting, all these things go back to the heart. And so with that heart, we receive understanding, which is in your brain. These are the operations that the Most High wanted us to get. Sirach chapter 17 and verse, I'll read 6 again and we'll go into 7. Counsel and a tongue and eyes and ears and a heart gave he them to understand. Withal, he filled them with the knowledge of understanding and showed them good and evil. So these very things are the things that Satan breaks down. He replaces all these things, right? To tear down the image of what? Of the Most High, which gives us what? Stockholm syndrome. Our image has been torn apart. We've been trying to get straight hair. We've been trying to get blue eyes all our lives until we woke up to the truth. You feel me? So the Most High is teaching us how to be. He's teaching us that love yourself. Love what I've given you. Your skin, I keep showing you that melanin is a blessing. I keep showing you that your veins are a blessing, your muscles, your bones, your heart, your spirit is different. He's been telling us all this time. We keep ignoring him. Satan has been trying to destroy our image with syphilis diseases from Tuskegee Institute, trying to inoculate us with syphilis and all these other diseases. No telling what else they've tried to do to us. So we got to maintain our image, which is the Most High's image. Look at understanding. So that's the one that he gave us over the 5 operations. And let's see what Yahawashi had. Yahawashi had understanding. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah chapter 11, because a lot of y'all probably thought I was going to go into the Esau thing, right? Y'all already know that. Let's look a little deeper, because Esau is the children of Satan. We already know that Esau is going to do his part. But Satan is the entity behind Esau, pushing them, driving them, and all the other nations, all the rest of them. The hand and heel are together. What's in between the hand and the heel? The other nations. They're there to bring us down too. When you read Revelation chapter 17, it says that the 10 kings was with the dragon at first, before they turned on him. The 10 kings is the other nations. They was trying to bring us down too. Like today. They don't care. All of these different entities are helping the Stockholm syndrome. Let's go to Isaiah 11, verse 1. Isaiah 11 and 1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. Jesse was David's father. And the Spirit of the Most High shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge, and of the fear of the Most High. Isn't this all the operations that we just read in the book of Sirach? Let's go to verse 3. And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Most High. If you can unify all these operations into one solid form, unstoppable. There's nothing that can overcome us. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity of the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. That's what we're doing every day, slaying the wicked. Verse 5, and righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. And this is how we got to move, just like Yahawashi. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 33. This is the Spirit of the Most High. If we can keep this spirit, see, it goes from Genesis all the way to now. It was all about the image of the Father. And if we could understand each element, each operation of his image and unify it together, unstoppable. Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6. Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. Like I said, Jonah thought he was bringing judgment to Nineveh, and it turned out to be salvation. The fear of the Most High is his treasure. See that? So the treasure is what we're trying to keep. Let's go to 1 Peter's. There's more meat on this plate right here. I'm going to read 7 and 8. Isaiah 33, verse 7. Behold, their valiant ones shall cry without. The ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. The highways lie waste. The wayfaring man ceaseth. He hath broken the covenant. He hath despised the cities. He regardeth no man. That's our brother, our fellow brothers and sisters that we're waking up. We're waking up these very brothers and sisters. They don't care about no covenant. They don't care about nothing. We have to make them understand. We make them understand so they can be an even fiercer warrior in the truth to wake up others. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 3. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. But sanctify the Most High Yahawah in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. See that meekness and fear, that's the understanding. Who are the ones that you're putting fear on? Those who are hard-headed, those ones that you can't speak nicely to. With those, you got to bring fear in them. You got to say, the Most High going to take you out. You got to come like that Jonah spirit, You got to bring that judgment, fear, sit on them, the ones who don't have any fear. But the other ones, the ones you can talk to, you got to bring meekness to them. You know, you got to come soft, a little softer to them. They understand. They don't need all that other stuff. You can just talk to them. All right? So there's two different types of personalities out there that you got to learn how to deal with. But the Most High says, give an answer to them, to every man, the reason of your hope. It ain't about us trying to be all macho and this stuff. It's about, you know, we got levels. We go up and down. Someone speaking high, we speak low. And someone speaking low, we speak high. We vary in this truth with different types of personalities, right? Well, Most High made us like a chameleon to deal with all these different people. The last one is speech. When we look at Sirach chapter 17, and we go to verse 6, let's start at 7. Withal he filled them with the knowledge of understanding and showed them good and evil. He set his eye upon their hearts that he might show them the greatness of his work. He gave them to glory in his marvelous acts forever, that they might declare his works with understanding. See that? And the elect shall praise his holy name. Besides this, he gave them knowledge and the law of life for an heritage. But speech, what is speech? Why is that important? Because that's how we bring the spirit of prophecy. We have that spirit of prophecy through speaking. And so the Most High gave us all these different operations, man. We got all these operations, and we can't take it for granted. That Stockholm syndrome has a lot to do with tearing down the image of Yahweh. And this is where we have been for the last 2,000 years, without the image of Yahweh. Let's go to Hosea chapter 3. The Arabs broke us down. They broke us down much harder than Esau, which they softened us to go into captivity for Esau. Basically, they killed most of the men and left the women and children. Esau came and got them. Hosea chapter 3, verse 4. Yeah, right here. A lot of people don't know this right here. They don't know this is why our churches got crosses on top of them when you go into the hood. All our churches got crosses. And you know what else they got on top of them churches? They got pyramids. Have y'all ever seen pyramids on top of the Christian churches, the gospel churches? They got pyramids, man. Our people love Masonic heritage. They love that Masonry. Notice that? They love that Eastern stars and that Mason's garbage. And they put that on top of the churches. And really what it is a symbol to attract other Masons, other types of little cults and cliques. None of them are following the will of the Most High. Look at Hosea chapter 3, verse 4. For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king. We don't have a king. And without a prince. We don't have a prince. And without a sacrifice. We ain't did sacrifices in years. And without an image. We don't have an image. See, we lost the image of the Most High. And without an ephod, 12 tribe sign. And without teraphim. Afterwards shall the children of Israel return and seek the Most High their power, and David their king, and shall fear the Most High and his goodness in the latter days. That's during these days, the latter days. So all these things in verse 4 we're missing. We didn't have an image. That's why when you go in our churches, you see a white Caesar Borgia up on the walls with white angels and white Mary. And the angels are naked with no clothes, which is a symbol of us being naked. See baby angels with no clothes on. They're talking about you, that you're naked. But the image is important. We lost our image. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 11. All this is Stockholm syndrome. All around us. We didn't even know it. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 13. You wonder why children hate school. Most of our boys hate school, unless they nerds. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 13. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off. That's us. And were persuaded of them and embraced them and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. We're pilgrims. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. Do we have a country? We seek a country, right? Where is our country? Where is our country? You know, within Africa, Africa is a continent. Within Africa, where is our country? Where is it? Where can we go? They say, everybody go back to Africa. Where are you going to go? Which country are you going to go to first? You might go to Morocco. They're sending people with dark skin color out of Morocco right now. They're killing people with dark skin right now in Morocco, sending them deeper into Africa right now. So what country are you going to in Africa? Ghana, right? In South Africa, we got it hard. Where are you going to go? When you look at the scriptures, we are seeking for a country. Hebrews 11:15. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, we ain't mindful. We say Africa. It shows our ignorance. Africa is a continent, not a country. I'm from Africa. What part of Africa? What country? That's why I said you got to get out of that African mindset. People think when I'm talking you got to get out of the black mindset. No, I'm saying get out of that African continent mindset. What country are you from? We're from Jerusalem. That's where we're from. We're from Eastern Africa. It says, and truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. We don't even know where we're from. The president, he don't even know where to send us if we go back. Hebrews 11:16. But now they desire a better country, that is, and heavenly. Wherefore the Most High is not ashamed to be called their power, for he hath prepared for them a city. See that? So the Most High is going to prepare the city. The reason why we can't go back, none of us know the country where we're from. As soon as we figure it out, where do most brothers and sisters say they're from? From Egypt. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28:68. This is funny. I was just laughing at the psychology of our people, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 28:68. The Most High told us we ain't going back to Egypt again. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68. And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spoke unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. Most High said, we ain't going back to our country. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. You see that? That's why what we just read in Hebrews chapter 11, he said, we seek after a country. We don't even know where our country from. That's why he said, I'm preparing something better for you. I'm preparing a heavenly country for you. See that? Let's drop down to Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 35. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 35. And let's read down to verse 38. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 35. It reads, and this really, I'm bringing this out because a lot of people think that they're within the will of the Father, and they don't know that just because you think you're in the will of the Father, it doesn't mean that everything's got to go right for you just by you being within the will of the Father. You don't think Jonah thought that everything was going right for him when he was trying to get on that ship in Joppa? He probably went to try to go purchase a ticket, and they said, well, we ain't got no more tickets for you to board this ship. And then somebody probably canceled one of their tickets, like, look, I can't go. And Jonah, they was like, oh, Jonah, we got a ticket for you. Someone canceled. Jonah said, I must be in the will of the Most High. That ain't how it goes. That ain't the will of the Father. The Most High told Jonah to go to Nineveh. Jonah was trying to go to Spain. That's not the will of the Father. Everything that you think is the will of the Father sometimes is not the will of the Father. He controls all things. So let's read this. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 35. Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured. You think they thought that they were in the will of the Father? They got tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. Where would you find this in the scriptures? You got the book of Maccabees, right? Judas Maccabees and his sons, and they all rejected the offering given by the king of Greece, and they chose to die. Hebrews 11:36. And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover, of bonds and imprisonment, right? John the Revelator was in prison. Do you think that was of the will of the Father? Yeah, that was in the will of the Father. They were stoned. They were sewn asunder. Isaiah got sewn asunder by another Israelite, which is King, what's his name? Manasseh. King Manasseh sold up Isaiah in half, the prophet, and then he repented. But Isaiah suffered. They were stoned. They were sewn asunder. Stephen got stoned. They were sewn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. John the Baptist got his head cut off. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise. Look at that. Here they thought they were all within the will of the Father, and they were within the will of the Father. And look at how they suffered. They didn't live good lives. You may think, okay, I'm in the truth. I'm going to live a good life, right? I know brothers who have died for this truth. Stood right next to them teaching the truth. They have died for this truth. Got shot, died of prostate issues out on the streets. So were they in the will of the Father? You can't look at them like that. The thing is, the Most High's will is different from man's will. We got to think about how the Most High uses sufferings and afflictions when it comes to Israel. You know, it's not always within Satan's will. It's within the Most High's will. Let's go to Isaiah 57. Isaiah 57. Look at Isaiah chapter 57. And look at verse 1. It reads, the righteous perish. Who perishes? The righteous perish. And no man layeth it to heart. No one cares that the righteous perish. No one cares. And merciful men are taken away. You know, you hear about a brother died. There's a health complications. Sometimes the Most High does that. He'll take them away. They're within the will of the Father. None considering that the righteous is taken away from the evil to come. So sometimes the Most High will take someone because something worse is coming, and he doesn't want that servant to deal with it. He'll remove that servant out of the way. But the families and the friends be like, I don't know why he died. You know, he was such a good man. He taught the word of God. Hey, the Most High sometimes removes people when they've done their job. They all have a time to leave this earth, just like us. We have a time to leave this earth. But a lot of people are within Stockholm syndrome, and they don't understand the spiritualness of the Most High. Isaiah 57:2. He shall enter into peace. See that? They shall rest in their beds, each one walking in his uprightness. But draw near hither, ye sons of the sorcerers, the seed of the adulterer and the whore, against whom do you sport yourselves? Against whom make ye a wide mouth and draw out the tongue? Are ye not children of transgression, a seed of falsehood? See that? So the Most High will take out the wicked a different way. Totally different way. They are not within the will of the Father. This is why Yahawashi was sent. He was sent to break that Stockholm syndrome by giving us an image. He brought the image so we could see it and act just like him. That's the whole reason why the Most High did that. Let's go to John chapter 14. Yahawashi was sent here to be an image for us John chapter 14, everything that we read about in Sirach, about those operations, in Isaiah 11 about the Spirit, is what embodied Yahawashi. John chapter 14, verse 8. John chapter 14, verse 8. Philip saith unto him, Hamashiach, show us the Father, and it sufficeth us. Yahawashi saith unto him, have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that hath seen me hath seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, show us the Father? Believest thou not that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself. See that? It goes back to speech. But the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me, or else believe me for the very work's sake. So he's telling them, listen, I have all the operations. I have the Spirit of the Most High. What you see in me is what the Father is all about. Let's go to Colossians chapter 1. Colossians chapter 1. He's going to tell you in Colossians that he is the Father again. Colossians chapter 1, verse 13. Colossians chapter 1, verse 13. It reads, who hath delivered us from the power of darkness, physical darkness, and have translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, and whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins. Here it is right here. Who is the image of the invisible power, Yahweh, the firstborn of every creature. So this image is the image that we're trying to be like. This is the image Adam was supposed to be like, and Eve. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible. So there's invisible things. You know, you have diseases that are in the invisible. You have electricity in the invisible. You have chariots in the invisible, right? Which fade in the invisible and sometimes come into the visible. Sometimes you can see spirits in the visible. Barzal seen some spirits in the visible. Whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. See that? So Yahawashi is the image of the Heavenly Father, and that's the image that we're trying to get to. You can read on in this chapter. The whole chapter is packed with dynamite. So does Satan have an image? If Yahawashi has the image of the Father, what does Satan's image look like, other than what we know being darkness? All you got to do is look at the world. Most of our brothers and sisters that are caught up and copying their image to be like Satan is all in the scriptures. Let's touch on that. Let's go to 2 Corinthians and let's see Satan's image, although it's not important, but it's good to know. You should know the characteristics of Satan. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14, and it reads, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. See that? So he comes as an angel of light. This is what we have to be mindful of. He comes in a deceiving form. He doesn't show himself as being full of darkness, but he comes as one full. When we read the book of Ezekiel, it always says that he's beautiful. He was a beautiful angel on the throne of the Father. So he comes in beauty. He comes as a light to deceive. That's what Satan, that's how he approaches you. That's how he comes to you. Something that's catchy to the eyes. That's Satan. That's his image. You see that all on TV when you turn on the TV. They got makeup artists to make people appeal to you, right? If you got social media, all the people on social media are trying to appeal to you by their look. That's Satan's image. And a lot of us, We've been so brainwashed into looking like his minions that we try to look like them to fit in to the best of our ability. But we shun the Most High's image. We don't want to wear our fringes. We don't want to do nothing that the Most High tells us to do. We're embarrassed, you know. You don't think they was embarrassed in Egypt? That's why they wanted to go out for 3 days and worship the Most High without fear. If they were in fear then, you don't think our people are in fear now? So Satan has an image. Let's go to 1 Peter's chapter 5. 1 Peter's, and let's go to chapter 5 and verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, he's our adversary, as a roaring lion walketh about seeking whom he may devour, whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. So Satan walketh about seeking whom he can devour. So this verse, basically what it's doing is portraying Satan in his image, right? It's portraying him not in a physical form, but it's portraying him as like in terms of his behavior. He has a predatory nature. So remember the red dragon in Revelation? Remember that red dragon? Remember, it leads the whole world astray. It's predatory. It causes everyone to change, right? Or follow rules and regulations to be just like him. So which is a form of which is a form of Stockholm syndrome when you look at that. It's trying to transform you away from the Father to be more like him. Just like all these different vices. You go to the airport, they have clear. It's trying to get you in a sequence of doing the things that he wants you to do. Your phone, all the updates, Apple updates, things like that. It's trying to get he makes the policy so long because you've normally got to volunteer to continue, and normally they'll give you a long, drawn out policy. And who reads that policy? Even when you go like to the Verizon stores or to the T-Mobile stores, they be like, "Oh, just hit continue on that." They don't even want you to read it. Just hit continue, And that's taking away your liberties, your rights, right there. And basically, Satan is trying to conform you into what he wants you to be. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians 2:1. You don't even know if you've already opened up your phone to him being able to listen to you or anything by you hitting continue on a lot of different things. They even got it on your smart TVs. Hit continue. Most people are not going to read that stuff. Open up your whole house to listening devices. The new lights that you put in your ceiling, they're called LCD lights. They don't have a bulb that you screw in it. They just have little wires that you connect to other wires. They got listening devices in some of those. Y'all know that? Listening devices in the LCD lights. Them bulbs cost about, one bulb will cost you about $20 to $40. They got, if they really want to, they can listen to you through those devices. Don't think that I'm playing with you or making this up. That's the real deal, Holyfield. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. They want to see if you have his image. Satan is a jealous person, just like the Most High is jealous. 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 1, it reads, 2 Thessalonians 2:1. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our power, Yahawashi HAMASHAYACH, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us. Everything dealing with the operations, the eyes, the tongue, the hearing, as that the day of Hamashiach is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first. When did this falling away happen? 70 AD is when all the hypocrisy came in. It's when the false Christ came in, the false doctrines came in. This was the falling away. And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. We know who the man of sin is now. Esau. It says, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he, as the Most High, sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is. It don't have a little g there. It got a big G. He want to be just like the Most High. You see that? Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things. Yahawashi told us that sly fox had got in. Herod. 2 Thessalonians 2:6. And now ye know withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. It's already at work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. Has he been taken out of the way? He hasn't been taken fully out of the way yet. He knows this truth was out there. People in the church know the truth is out here. Everyone know about the truth. Comedians be making stand-ups about us. They got us in movies. Everyone knows about the truth. They know it's out here. Verse 8, and then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Most High shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, Pope, the dragon, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth. What's the truth? Psalms 119 and 142. Thy righteousness is everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. That's the truth, the commandments, that they might be saved. Who's going to be saved? Us. This book, the Bible, is written for the 12 tribes of Israel. The book of Thessalonians is written for the 12 tribes of Israel, that we might be saved. Verse 11, and for this cause the Most High shall send them strong delusion, that they, who's the they? 12 tribes of Israel, should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. See that? We have to understand that this thing is against us. Everything is geared up to go against the 12 tribes of Israel. They want to put chains of darkness on the 12 tribes of Israel. On several occasions in the gospel, we seen Yahawashi rebuke the Pharisees, the Sadducees. We seen him rebuke people. We seen him rebuke disciples. Why was he rebuking them? Because they were all speaking with Stockholm syndrome. Yahawashi had to put them in their place most of the time. When you look at John 8 and 39, remember he said, ye are of your father the devil, John chapter 8. He was always putting them in their place because they had a different image. They kept shifting back and forth, right? John chapter 8, verse 39. That's what that whole movie Matrix really is about. If you look at it, Mr. Smith was able to transform from one person to the next. That's why you can never do nothing. You know, that movie really substantiated exactly what we're going through. You try to do something wrong, Esau watching you. It don't matter where. They all transform into Satan. John chapter 8, verse 39. John chapter 8, verse 39. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Yahawashi said unto them, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. We got Israelites who say that today. Man, I come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but they don't do the works of HAMASHAYACH Yahawashi. Neither do they believe in HAMASHAYACH Yahawashi. But they claim to be Abraham's seed, our own people. But now you seek to kill me, a man that have told you the truth, which I have heard of the Most High. This did not Abraham. Most of the brothers that don't believe that Yahawashi came got the same, what's his name? What's his name? Starberry, the basketball player. Where is he at? He over there with them wicked Jews knobbing his head at the wall. You think he believe in HAMASHAYACH? You think he believe like we believe? Yeah, he know he a Jew, but he think that he's one of them Jews. He think that those are his brothers. I can't even think of his name right now. We have to understand that Yahawashi came to redeem us. He gonna die too if he don't wake up to the fact that the Most High sent the image, and that image is HAMASHAYACH. John chapter 8, verse 40. But now ye seek to kill me, a man that have told you the truth. He needs to repent. which I have heard of the Most High, this did not Abraham. You do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, we be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even the Most High. Yahawashi said unto them, if the Most High were your Father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from the Most High. Neither came I of myself, but he that sent me. Why do you not understand my speech? Going back to the operations. Even because you cannot hear my word, their ears were plugged. Then he says, ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. See that? So within the mouth is what? Life and death. Verse 45, and because I tell you the truth, you believe me not. So how many Hebrews talk like that today? A lot of them talk just like them Hebrews. They don't believe. But with that, I'm going to end. Today is the Shabbat. Normally, I will stop at 12. It's 12:14. And I'm going to end the Stockholm Syndrome right here. And I pray that a lot of y'all brothers and sisters got the understanding that we were trying to endue to you. And I pray that the Most High bless each and every one of you. All praise to the Most High, Yahawah.
Now, anybody have any questions?
This is the word of the Lord of hosts. I took you from the pastures and from following the sheep to be prince over my people Israel. I have been with you wherever you have gone and have destroyed all the enemies in your path. I will make you a great name among the great ones of the earth. I will assign a place for my people in Israel. There I will plant them, and they shall dwell in their own land.